Hi there. Welcome to Syzygy. 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 It means the alignment of 3 planets, and 3 is a perfect number. Alignment is great. And welcome to truth. I am on a journey to find truth, and I won't stop until I do. I'm uncovering a lot of it. It's making me smarter and wiser and more understanding. It's giving me direction and hope, and more than anything else, that which I desire above all things. Freedom! I named our dog, William Wallace, Freedom. Yeah, brave heart. Brave heart. We need to be brave in today's world and have maturity. What is maturity? I love that word. To me, it's having equal amounts of courage and consideration, to be brave and strong, to follow what one knows is right and good and honorable, and to have the courage to do it, and to be considerate of the people all around us that it applies to. Courage and consideration make a mature person. I long to be mature. Not often called that. Compartmentalization. That's a big deal, isn't it? What is it? Compartment. To put something in its own area, to sort and divide, to judge, to critique, to assess, to evaluate, and then to separate. Separation can be good at times. But what if the separation fails to benefit the end result? Fails to benefit the whole or come together again as a whole? What if after we compartmentalize and we sort everything out, it never comes back together? That's the challenge. Compartmentalization of a concept, of science, of God, of behavior, of history, of ideas, of tasks, of information. It can be good, can it? It can organize. It can make simple. It can chronologicalize and put things in order. So it's not always bad. However, what happens when we have spirit over here and science over here? Yet, who made spirit? Who made science? The same, right? So unless we're able to tie those two together, can we ever know anything? I don't think so. It would be like, well, let's see. It would be like studying everything about a Republican and thinking that you know about the Democrat, right? So it's so important for us to be cautious and ever aware of someone trying to compartmentalize information that's vital to us. I think about over the years and compartmentalization. My mom used to say, you 3 girls, we shared a room, you 3 girls clean your room. Well, you know what that led to? A bunch of arguing and griping, and that's not mine, and this is yours, and throwing things on every side of the room, and it was not a good thing. And so what did my mom do? She ended up having 3 separate events. First, she destroyed the room, threw it all in the middle, and said, "There, Cindy, you clean it." When I was done, she did the same thing and told my sister to do it. And when she was finished, yep, Kathy was up. It was her turn. So the room got cleaned 3 times that day. But we all knew what we had done. Then I thought about working and how when I first started working, I was a bookkeeper and I did job cost off a key punch machine. And so the little key punch cards we would separate depending on job. If you put them all together, you would know the total expense, but if you separated them, you would know the individual expenses of the job. That was all good when I understand both sides of the equation. But until I understood that it had to reconcile, that all the different jobs had to meet in the middle and amount to the same number as the entire cost, it didn't make much sense to me. I didn't know if I was right or wrong because there was no reconciliation. I love reconciliation. I used to be the master of reconciling bank accounts and trust accounts and would always get them to the penny because I love the challenge of reconciliation. When we divide, it's usually to conquer. And when we are divided, it's usually to be conquered. It is. So, what happens when we have anthropology and astronomy and astrology and geophysics and meteorology and paleontology and nuclear physics and electronics and optics and theory and computer science? They all get their own department. And then what happens? No one has the whole picture. That is one of the very best weapons of mankind and of evil and confusion and disorder, to divide and conquer. Only by understanding the basic precepts and concepts of each department can we properly evaluate. And that's why we've never been able to properly evaluate the world, the universe, this life that we live. That's why we're lost. That's why here we are in 2024, and we don't know any more. As a matter of fact, we know less than we did in the 1970s. Now, I'm talking about you and me. Those at the top, they have the big picture. The problem is, those at the top are the ones that divided to conquer. Do you understand? And so, when I was called, spiritually, really called, because I could not turn this project down, when I became passionate about this truth, there was no way to study a part of it. And thank God I found the mentors that I found, beginning with Randall Carlson. Why? I wanted to understand fossils and archaeology, and I found him. Randall is a handsome, older hippie, very much like me, that stood on the side of a hill and noticed that things weren't like he had been told. and he opened his mind and threw out the divisions and the compartments and started looking at geology and geometry and spirituality in one big pot. And it allowed him to figure out some incredible things. And he's still working on that on our behalf today. The next guy I met was Doug Vogt. And in my search for truth, I found him on the internet. And that was weird to begin with because most of my research comes from books. But I was on there one day. I don't trust the internet. I don't. And I found Doug. So I rang him up, which is very unusual for me because I hate the telephone. But I called him and asked him to lunch. And he said yes. And that was the beginning of a great, great journey of truth for me. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. This is part 1. About compartmentalization and how if we ever want truth, we're going to have to stop being divided and conquered. We're going to have to say no to the compartmentalization and open our minds and our brains and embrace this world as it was meant to be. One incredible, beautiful, complicated universe or multiverse in which we know very little, lots less than I ever thought. Newton was quite the guy. He was determined to unite science and God. And believe it or not, in his work, someone found a note that said 2060. He was onto something. Indeed. When Doug started this work, he was really challenged. He had worked on it for years and just wasn't getting anywhere. Like most people, like everybody, just about. The handful of people that understand this world in a complete, comprehensive context are so few, if any. And it's only those that have sought for truth with all their hearts and have not compartmentalized information. Doug was able, for the most part, to locate Mount Sinai. This opened so many doors. What Doug found was that the only way for him to understand the world we live in and to figure out what was truthful and what was not was to get rid of the compartmentalization, number 1, and number 2, to examine his frame of reference. Have you ever worn glasses that don't work? I have a pair. I had cataract surgery, and I found out soon after that my readers don't work anymore because my eyes are different. They worked before my surgery, but they don't work anymore. What lenses are we using?